It's the time of love's greatest power, and it's time to be as little children. Time to go ape over love. And if you don't, all of a sudden, you get this guy come over and he eat your nose. Don't do it. That's not nice. That's not even Christian. So don't do it. But people have been destroyed for our lack of knowledge. I dare anybody to Google images of T Rex blood cell, and what you're going to see is a little beastie like this guy uh, in the a blood cell in the vein, fresh dino meat. And then I dare you to Google Marco Polo T Rex description, because he had an eyewitness description. Eyes as big as a shield. So things are not as you have thought. This earth was created with very great age. It was made ancient on day one. Adam and Eve had no belly buttons. And the very moment that the knife was lifted up over Abraham, over Isaac, it committed Emmanuel into coming forth immediately within an instant. Otherwise, it only would have proved that man had the capability to love God more than God had the capability to love man if he did not do the same thing he had asked of Abraham. These are the days of Elijah, the days of the latter day Daniel, who I am, who has embraced that destiny, Daniel 12:13. The days of the alcoholic Shiloh, same guy. Moses named him Shiloh because the first Elijah had not come, is all. But the one whose eyes are red and dull of wine, teeth milky white because they're fake. Bible actually says that, milky white teeth. Everybody with fake teeth have milky white teeth, trust me. But one thing is for sure, even though my heart has been transgressed by wine, the just will live by my faith. Habakkuk 2. I'm the guy uh, picked for the flying scroll, the everlasting gospel of Revelation 14, Zechariah 5, the flying scroll. I am the alcoholic standing before the throne, the great white throne written about in Zechariah 3's vision, standing before the Lord covered with puke. And Satan had no problem with me because I was busy sniffing glue with my glue around my face. So these are the days of understanding, restoration of all things. Daniel 7:5. This is the time of the great rising Soviet bear. Caught between his three fangs are the three ribs of Daniel 11, the king of the south that the king of the north has gone into. And it's the 3.5 year vision. And the king of the north goes back home, is defeated, and then goes back again. But one thing for sure, it hears the words, and now you can go eat all the flesh that you would like. And that is revelation of revelation, because those three ribs are Crimea that Russia first stole in 2014, and now lastly Donetsk and Luhansk, the two new ones. So there's three annexations that have been going on. These are the days of the trial of all flesh that's come, bringing God's word of patience to keep us from the hour of the temptation, not to James, COVID, Revelation 3. These are the days of the latter day Daniel, who I am. And in those days, God's word was only closed until the time of the end, Daniel 12:9. And so, therefore, the message of Malachi that prepares the Lord's way now causes the shattering of the power of the holy people, Daniel 12:7, because that message of Malachi 3:1 that prepares the Lord's own way is by his own word, rightly discerned, rightly divided, and understood that God was smart. I don't know, maybe I just need to keep wearing this because you guys want to keep believing that God wasn't so smart that he didn't know who he was addressing his Bible letter to now, because if you read it,
in the latter days, God gives it to Israel, and Israel, of course, they inherit all mankind, Isaiah 54:3, when that happens. And then all faith on earth is obsolete. Hebrews 8, last sentence, say so. When those words come, I am your God, you are my people, I have forgiven your iniquity, will never remember. People, 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 it's time to have meat. The rancid milk of the word is beyond. Jesus asked, would anybody truly have any real faith on earth? Nothing for prophecy. Everyone spits in my direction. No one will even say hello. And so the restoration is of love and of light. So it's time for the flame of love, which comes by the Holy Spirit, the dove of love. And by the way, it's time to have the dove of love to transform and to become the most regal eagle of the eon, so we can mount up on eagle's wings. And so it's time for the dove's flames. And even though the spiritual fire of God introduces some new ideas, they can't even be really understood unless someone will eat the words herein and really think about it to show their approval unto our real Lord God, who is the God of all mankind. Jeremiah 32:27. The real God is the good shepherd over all the flocks of man, Jesus said he was. John 10, in the latter days. So let all people of obedience now realize that any other God is a God, a respecter of men. He's a God of favoritism, and therefore, according to the word of God, that is a sin. So if you had that God, you have a sinner God. Your God is a sinner by his very own word. And so realize that such ideals shall spread themselves from land to land like wildfire. For the time before the Messiah's coming is really short, and the Lord foretold that his latter day Elijah tasked servant would come forth saying, people, you got a false God. That's what the first Elijah did. And the first Elijah is still to come, trust me. He's one of the two witnesses. He's the first original Elijah and Moses, but that is fully a conditional prophecy. For the Lord God wants to cut these days short, or else no flesh could be saved, Matthew 24:22. And therefore he is saying in this hour, Jeremiah 30:24, he says, I shall return my terrifying anger, my fierce wrath, and this shall be considered in the latter days. It is written, it says so, that I shall stop the fast rising great tribulation if my people of love will let their hearts be pierced by his arrow of the unconditionality of his love. There are no strings attached. He desires to remove our spiritual burden, remove all bad religious unlovingness as loving spirituality arises. Read chapter 31. Make that your life's mission. And so it's time to realize more than ever that the word of love and motion is far mightier than both fire and a sword. For the idea that love unconditional alone is divine is the veil that has covered all nations and shall be removed from this latter day mountain of Isaiah 25, Isaiah 2, and Micah 4, so that we can learn the ways of war no more as we beat our sword of our conditional love into the sickle of his unconditional love, because the whole world has a false God if they have a God of conditional love. That is not what his everlasting covenant says. And so it is time to realize that the time is very, very short. And praise God, his glory is on the way and it is raining again. The living holy dew of his most important word of love, to just love us and love on us and love through us. And neither should anyone ever forget that there's a lot of people who call the Lord's, that are called the Lord's brethren by their names. But there is only one man from Galilee who always makes everyone's name sound so very special. And in this hour, he is softly calling each of our names as if we were the only one.
And so, therefore, let the people of love now understand that it's the task of the sturdy pioneer to hew the tall oak and to cut through the rough granite so that the fires of their love will shine, for he who is the eternal caretaker, the definer of holiness, and the giver of all covenants that are his unbreakable law. And all this will begin blazing away most brightly within the hallowed, God shaped void that's within every soul that has been brought forth. We must fill that void with His love unto overflowing if we don't want to go really crooked. And so, in this time, it's time for newly enlightened souls who have their falsehoods fall away to fully realize that it's time to stop rejecting all things that are not of prophecy as they reject this ministry hatefully. And so it's time that a new peace will dawn, one heart at a time. And then the wise will live by the rule that men created in God's image. And we need to be casting away all of our discords of materialism, selfishness, and all of our carnality as we begin yielding more and more to the loving harmony of our sharpened spiritual senses. Know that such tranquility is born on the holy wings of our angel of love, and he shall now stir up the senses of his faithful few, and it shall be like a swift swirling whirlpool of overflowing hope and peace in the sea of his tranquility, and such serenity none has ever known. And it will spin faster and faster, and it will come forth as the swiftest lightning with the sound of thunder. And then billions of souls during his harvest of love shall be rapidly swept away by the great flood. Say to that flood to stop in the middle of their dried up gorge and their dried up valley. Will not obey. It's going to rip all up by the roots. And it's time, therefore, to jump for the joy of our Lord higher than where we've ever gone before. So let the people of the Lord become disciples of the doctrines of love and put away your conditional love and make it the real deal. Fake it if you until you make it if you have to. Put on a smile. That will be a language that the dumb can even understand. And so it's time to have no enmity and no untempered controversy springing up between us or anyone. It's time to start loving all of our brothers of other mothers. And for all sleeping followers of truth, they differ not in their sin nature, and there's never been any difference. And they are just as saved as anyone who will awaken from their spiritual slumber. For it is always literal that those who love are born of God and know Him, because He is love. 1 John 4:7, always literal. And Sir Isaac Newton foretold me as Elijah. He said that in the end times, Elijah would come forth standing up, insisting on his literal interpretation of Bible prophecy amidst much clamor and opposition. People, we have always defined everything bullshit because it's never been here, it's always been here. The Bible proves itself, Christ's word proves Himself. He says that many are going to say, Lord, Lord, I believed, I did this, I did that, I believed in you. And He's going to say, it never mattered, go away. Because they let Him within themselves, that light to go out, to let their love wax cold. And so it's time more than ever to realize that we need to magnify Him alone. He is the beloved, the blessed, the adored. And that majesty of majesties as He arises as our hero of heroes and our icon of icons, we need to behold that lamb-hearted Lion of God and see that He alone is the holy, the creed, and the glad doctrine of love, who desires all of his chosen ones to also see him as our chieftain of compassion, the pledge giver and the fulfiller of all the needs of our love. And so once again, fire is now being called down from heaven as a real inferno of the Lord's greatest blessings are now being poured out over all of mankind as the famine for his word now ends, and all the mysteries of God of Revelation 10:7 are all over, because the first is last, and the last trumpet had to sound first. That is God's word of love. And so let it now be emphasized as I close. Let it be emphasized firmly and stressed unapologetically that there is a bright, radiant spark of love existing within every person ever born. We are no damn good, no, not one, Romans 3:10. None of us ever have been. But God is love that is living within us. And for that reason, most people are good, uh, because he is still alive within them, even if it's just the size of a mustard seed. If you have that much unconditional love, he is still in you. But it's time to fan the embers so the fire goes not out. But we need to realize that as people of all races, all faiths, creeds, and tongues, that we all eventually lose our inner spark of unconditional love through our very own bad attitudes. Hell is paved with conditional love because it gives practice to our unthankfulness, to our unforgiveness, to our ignorance, to our unbelief, to our apathy that often becomes so bad that we just don't really give a damn about anything anymore within our closed minds and hardened hearts. Accursed are such loveless people of darkness. Oh, the vile darkness of ignorance, for there has never been a blacker blackness than the ignorance of love alone. And so that is the lack of knowledge about love, where monsters become real and imagined, and they lurk where there's no light, and they always thrive in their darkness. For God's brightest light of love refuses to keep burning within foolish vessels, desiring not all truth, and even the dove's blinding truths, and the excellence of his treasure, and the treasure of his excellence, of he who is our priceless pearl of great reward. It is he alone that they must follow. He is the living truth, and follow him to where the grossest darkness would ever never dare to go. So Hosanna, Daniel of Windsor, to latter-day Elijah, I say Hosanna in the highest, therefore, unto our flaming fire of God, who's now burning fervently with unbounded love, unconditional love for every beloved soul, no matter how they have strayed from his truth, even if they love him not because he loves them. See, true love is not because of, it's in spite of. It doesn't matter. It's love unconditioned. So know that emblazoned fire of God with abundant righteous flames is presently flashing his great exploding flames of love all across the earth, and the earth will be covered by his glory as waters cover the sea, as grass cover the land, even as sand covers the most desolate of desert. So it's time to celebrate his most intense radiance of his love, that very best daydreamer of good dreams ever dared to dream, as his word comes alive all over the circle of earth. Let it rain, let it rain, let it rain. It's time for the former rain, the latter rain, and the rain all coming down as a flood of his love. Amen.